Hey, everybody. Welcome back again to Austin Sports Weekend. Austin himself right here. It's time to talk about this week in
And
sports.
and the Super Bowl has concluded, much to really it's really divisive.
The NFL has come to a close for this season. And we're going to talk about the NFL. We're going to talk a little bit about some college basketball, maybe a little coaching move or two here, too. But first of all, thanks again for SevereTV.com for setting us up here
Sponsored
in
by
studio. Thanks again for Autographs Plus for sponsoring us. Check them out. Got a lot of cool stuff. But let's talk about some Super Bowl. The Super Bowl.
Super Bowl
we
50,
we
Super Bowl 58.
we called it when we talked about it last week. It's hard to pick against
The Kansas City
Kansas
Chiefs.
City Chiefs. When they went into Buffalo and Buffalo gave them a good shot, but Buffalo just couldn't beat them. And then they went into Baltimore and everybody had Baltimore winning by 10 points.
And Baltimore couldn't score.
Baltimore couldn't score either. The Chiefs ended up having the second best defensive scoring defense, which is really what matters. It's the points you give up. The Chiefs had the second best scoring defense in the NFL this year. At 17.3, I think.
Yeah, and Spagnuolo, I think, is a very solid defensive
Yeah.
coordinator.
They went into the playoffs and averaged giving up only 15.8. So
Well, you
they
step
got
up your game.
They got even better defensively in the playoffs than they were in the regular season, and I think that's really what held them together and what won it. Because their offense was a little wishy-washy all year long.
They had a nag as coordinator.
Yeah, I'm still not. I mean, he won the Super Bowl, but I think it was the defense that really won for
Yes,
you.
you bet.
It really wasn't the offense. But the Chiefs, 3 Super Bowls for Mahomes out of the 6 years he's been in. So he's 50% right now.
So that's just
Ain't
been
that a little
28 years old, and you have 3 Super Bowl rings.
Yep, he is 28, has 3 Super Bowls. Let's say he plays 10 more years. Let's say he plays till he's 38. If he's a 50%er, that puts him at 8, one ahead of Mr. Brady.
That would require like a ton more appearances, though. You'd realize
Yeah. But he's won 3 out of 6, so if he wins 5 out of 10, that puts him at 8. Now I'm not saying it's going to happen because
that would be ridiculous.
yeah. A lot of the key characters are like Kelsey's getting a little old. I don't know how much longer he's going to make it. But Tom Brady didn't have to have
That elite player.
the elite receiver every single year. He only had one elite receiver ever. That was Randy Moss, and they didn't win a Super Bowl that year. They went 18
and one. That's
and-
an infamous year
and
if you want
won,
to dive
so-
into it.
So the 1 year Brady had. So again, Mahomes is still young in his career. A lot of people have him on top of the pedestal. I've got him in the top 10, maybe the top 5 quarterbacks of all time right now. But we need the longevity.
And do you think Mahomes has the capability to be longevity?
Oh, he definitely does. He hasn't been injured that much. He's had a sprain here, a twist there.
And even with a sprained ankle, he won a Super Bowl with. So not even a sprained ankle.
Yeah, so there's not been a lot of big health issues.
You realize
slowing
that
him down.
Patrick Mahomes has dominated a young quarterback era that we're in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All of his rivals. Joe Burrow's been there once, but he failed to do much. That was not really against him because
No.
they were overmatched in that game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Lamar Jackson can't get out of the AFC and can't really win in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Josh Allen. at the
Josh
moment.
Allen can't either. And there's not that many young quarterbacks in the NFC route. There's a few of them starting to come up now. Purdy, he'll be good for quite some time. He proved in the Super Bowl that he deserves to be there. He wasn't the 10th best player on the team. They actually looked pretty good. So he's a young quarterback. Dak Prescott's a little old in the tooth. Aaron Rodgers is a little old in the tooth. I guess Dak Prescott is middle-aged, but Dak can't get out of the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers, for the majority of the time, can't get out of the playoffs. There's not a lot of young quarterbacks that are consistently good except for Mahomes. He's the one that every single year
I
he's
kind of like
in
his
the AFC.
character too. I think he's a real standout. I think he's a really good guy.
Yeah,
from
yeah.
what I've seen of him.
Yeah, for a great franchise, I love the Chiefs franchise. They got a good historic franchise.
And for Mahomes to put the Chiefs consistently in the title talks. This year was probably his most impressive.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
And especially that last drive to win the game
Yeah.
was clutch.
it was clutch. Yeah, I was honestly, I'm not a 49ers fan. I'm a Cowboys fan, which sort of makes me not like the 49ers. But I felt myself rooting a little bit for the 49ers. I hate to say that as a Cowboys fan. Bad on me. But Juwan Jennings, where I'm a Tennessee Vol fan, I'm always going to be a Tennessee.
He made an
He
impact.
was so good, man. Threw a touchdown. Only the second person in the history of the NFL to throw and receive
A Super Bowl touchdown.
a Super Bowl touchdown, and he is the only wide receiver ever to do it. The only other person
Makes
to
me
do
wonder
it.
why Kyle Shanahan. We'll get to him.
Yeah, the only other person to do
Why
it
didn't he scheme him
was
up more?
Nick Foles. Nick Foles threw one and caught one.
The infamous Philly special.
The Philly special. But Juwan Jennings would have had the MVP. At least I think he would have been the MVP
If the Niners
if the
defense
Niners
did something.
the defense could have stopped him. So I felt myself. But again, it was a good game, went into overtime. And this is where I think the 49ers lost the game.
Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle Shanahan called wrong. The modern playoff game is both teams get a possession.
And the Niner players apparently didn't know that.
And I don't know if Shanahan just didn't know that, but if both teams get a possession, then you want to take offense second to see what you have to get to match of the other person.
Yeah, he was too aggressive.
It's like college. In college, you want to go second to see what you need to score. If you need to score a field goal or a touchdown to match the other team. So Shanahan won the toss and took the ball first, which makes completely no sense whatsoever. It's 100% the wrong thing to do.
49ers got 3
They
points.
went down, kicked a field goal, and the Chiefs thought, well, all I got to do is just get a touchdown now, and we win.
And you put the ball. The last thing the 49ers that you would want is to have Mahomes have the ball in a game.
And a game-winning drive. They
And
put him
what
in
did
a
he
game-winning
do?
drive.
What did they do?
It should have been the 49ers in a game-winning drive at the end, or at least a game-tying, either a game when you win the toss, you want to be in a game-tying or game-winning drive, not going
I just
first.
kind
Not
of
going
feel like
first.
this
I don't
was
know.
another brain fart by Kyle Shanahan in the Super Bowl. This was just one of the few instances now.
Yeah, he's
0-3 in the
He's
Super
been
Bowl.
really good getting them there, and really good halfway through the Super Bowl. But then he does something
That just
and
trips them up.
You're like, what? Like,
Now-
but overall, it was an exciting game, entertaining game.
No, that's what you would really want from a Super Bowl is have two teams that tightly
Yeah.
compete. We
Yeah.
don't want a blowout.
No,
Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, they got once again. This is their third championship.
as long as Andy Reid, I thought Andy Reid might retire, but from what I understand, he likes cheeseburgers and football, and that's what he's going to be doing for a while is cheeseburgers and football. So I don't
Well, his hamburgers are giving him Super Bowl rings, so keep eating those burgers.
keep eating those burgers, baby. Yeah, as long as Reid and Mahomes is together, I think they're going to be dangerous. I think the only thing that keeps them out of the playoffs is injuries.
Or
Injuries is
another
the
rival
only
team
thing.
coming up.
Or another rival team getting really, really good. But he's knocked them all down so far. Burrow was not healthy this year. I still think the Bengals
would have competed.
would have competed and maybe surpassed them this year. I don't know. But Burrow showed the flash when he was healthy, when they went to the Super Bowl, how good he could be. They
Even
beat
with
the
a bad,
Chiefs.
Yeah, they beat the Chiefs with a terrible offensive line that year. That offensive
Yeah,
line
had
was
like 42 sacks or something. But yeah, there's a lot of competition, but it's going to be tough to keep.
the Kansas City Chiefs,
Chiefs.
as long as number 15 is on that sideline.
We thought, hey, Brady's retiring. Hey, we're going to have more, players, more teams, and then
But
no.
a new dark Sith Lord just came up,
Yeah,
and it's
we had,
Mahomes.
Emperor Palpatine. Now we've got
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader here.
And we got Kermit Mahomes. You see all those Kermit memes out there.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's going to be.
Now let's talk about some San Francisco, because there was a coaching change on their side.
Now I'm a little confused about this one. Their defense, which was spectacular the entire year, actually won a lot of games for them. The defense.
And went to
After
the
the
Super
season's
Bowl.
over,
He's gone.
they let go of their defensive coordinator.
That doesn't make any sense.
No.
That makes no sense.
What did Shanahan say? At the end of the day,
It wasn't a good fit.
it wasn't a good fit. It was a good enough fit to get you to the Super Bowl. Well, I mean, what kind of fit do you want there, Cinderella? I mean, what kind of? I don't know.
Oh man.
But he won't last on the market very long. Of course, they let him go after all the coaching spots are filled, so that's a little
little low blow.
a little ratty, but he's a fantastic coordinator. He'll end up he might take a year off but he won't be on the market very long. He might even drop down to the college rank. I don't know, but he's really, really good. But overall, it was a good game. It was a good NFL season. Like we were talking, I'm a little NFL'd out now. There was so much hype and so much going on during this. I'm ready for a break from the NFL, to be honest. That's probably only the second time in my lifetime that I'm ready for some no NFL. I'm ready for just a little quiet time.
All right,
I'm ready for some college basketball.
Before we get to college basketball, let's address. There has been a bit of an uproar about it being rigged. Do you believe this?
I don't know. There's some things that say it could be, some things that say it couldn't be. I haven't studied it enough to make a definitive.
Because there is a camp that is believes it is rigged. That Roger Goodell has a hand in it.
I don't know if you could rig players because some of those hits and some of those catches
you can't
and some
rig.
of those things
you can't rig. Getting hit.
Now, one thing you could rig is the reffing of the game.
That would be that would actually be a nice little.
Yeah. So if this team's getting too good, holding. It's 1st and 20 now instead of 2nd and 2. I could see that maybe a little bit.
And then there's another camp that says these people are ridiculous. What are you talking about? 49ers didn't do enough to win. But there's two different camps here, and it was just
Shanahan didn't
coach right at
the end of the game. But you don't know. You don't know for sure either way. I'm not convinced one way or the other. You could convince me one way or the other, probably if you sat down with me for long enough. I've got a buddy who says it is. And I've got friends who say it could be. And then I've got, but no people say there's no way that it is. So, I mean, it could be anything. It could
so it's really up to your interpretation.
It's up to your interpretation, yeah. Just check it out and look at it and see what you
make your own.
I don't think a lot of it could be players. If there was anything rigged, it was the Kansas City receivers dropping balls this year.
That was definitely a problem.
But with all the receivers dropping all the balls, they still made it to the Super Bowl.
The only thing that should have been rigged is Andy Reid takes Matt Nagy out into the.
Matt Nagy was terrible as an offensive coordinator.
I'm sorry, I still can't keep. I know I shouldn't bash Matt Nagy after winning a Super Bowl. But you had Patrick Mahomes under center.
Yeah. I do question reffing a lot of times, though. The flashback to the Rams game that they won after the worst ref call in the history of ref calls.
Oh, yeah, that blatant pass interference miss.
When the receiver got flat ran over, and they didn't call the pass interference, and then they lost the game when they could have probably got a first down there, kicked a field goal, and won the game. So, yeah, I do question reffing some of the times, but who knows? Who knows? Like I said, I'm just ready for some NFL to go away for a while. Let's get us 4 months here with no NFL.
But the NFL draft is coming up.
Now,
that's the only thing.
The draft is cool. The draft is more of a college event than it is an NFL event. You get to see your college players and where they're going to go. So I do like the draft. Tennessee's got some players going up there. We got Haddon and Wright and our strong-arm quarterback that should go.
With that, we conclude the season.
Well, NFL is over.
And now let's move forward with college basketball.
Let's talk about some college basketball. College basketball is in the heat of it right now. We are down to the last 7-8 games.
It's starting to kick up.
It's starting to kick up a little bit. We'll recap a little bit of the games that happened over the last week. Tennessee, our team, had a little struggle going into Texas A&M, went in there, and Texas A&M shot like 85% from three-point range or something like that. And Tennessee went down a little bit, but they played another game since then. They played Arkansas, and they handled Arkansas fairly easily, but by I believe 19 points or so. So Tennessee's staying at. They were number 6 after their loss. They dropped down to number 8. But there's been a few losses. UConn is not losing right now. UConn and Purdue struggling a little bit in a couple games, but they're not losing. So UConn still our definite number 1.
Trying to defend their title in stride.
Yeah, North Carolina struggled with Miami on Saturday, and then ended up losing
to a Syracuse badly
to a
on
Syracuse
the road
game really, really badly. So Miami's going to drop down a little bit. For some reason, they moved Kansas up to the top. What were they? Number 6,
number 4.
Yeah, they were number 4, and then they dropped them down. Oh no, they left them that way, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah. No, they dropped Kansas down to number 6.
And that just to get their heads kicked in by Texas Tech.
Yeah, Kansas is 3-4 in their last 7 now. So I don't think they should be top 10.
No,
to be honest. I know the pollsters love Kansas, and I do too. They've got one of the best coaches that's ever coached the game. They got some good players right now, but they're struggling. When you're 4 losses out of your last 7 games,
that's a bad. That's an ouchie.
You're having a little bit of an ouchie there. And again, North Carolina dropped 4 spots last week down to number 7, and they've already lost another one this week. So Kansas and North Carolina struggle a little bit. Marquette and Arizona has moved up in to the top 5. Houston, even though they lost bad to Kansas, stays at number 3.
And they did win their next 2 games after that, so that's probably why they moved up.
That's probably why. They're still 21-3.
That's still good.
That's still pretty good. But Connecticut and Purdue is 22-2.
That's a pretty solid record.
That's a pretty solid season. And also, Connecticut, Purdue is the cream of the crop right now. They're matching up pretty good against everybody. Connecticut's just mowing everybody down. Connecticut won last year. People forget how good Connecticut has been over the past 20 years.
The Huskies,
they've got 4 or 5 titles out of the past 20 years. They're like
in 1999, they won 5 championships.
So in the past 25 years, they've won 20% of all the championships.
That is
that's
a program right there. That's not from one coach either. That's from three different
coaches. That's a program. So once every 5 years, you're winning the title.
It looks like
they got a chance again this year. So
I'm going to give credit to the Connecticut Husky basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
They do earn their reputation.
They do. Now we've got some good games coming up.
Let's not forget one topic though.
What's that?
We're leaving out Kentucky.
Oh, Kentucky, yeah. Kentucky's struggling a little bit too. We've talked about Kansas struggling. Kentucky lost
at home again to Gonzaga.
So they lost 3 consecutive home games for the first time in the history
of Rupp Arena.
That's
something you don't want.
Yeah, and also I watched that game, and that was some of the worst interior defense
I think I've ever seen
from a Kentucky team that I think I've ever seen. Kentucky has got talent, man,
oozing from every pore of their body.
And I still don't understand why they're leaving some of their players on the bench.
I know exactly who is the instigator of this problem. One John Calipari.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's probably one of the best recruiters in the history of college basketball.
But, man,
he's struggling coaching right now. He is struggling.
That inbounds pass against Gonzaga was so bad.
The X's and O's are – he's struggling with X's and O's right now.
That inbounds pass with Gonzaga is one of the blooper reels of the year, especially late in a ball game where you need points.
Mm-hmm.
That's just terrible. I'd like to mention that, but
yeah,
Kentucky did get a win at home. They did snap that losing streak to Ole Miss, but they've got a really tough one on the road.
That's what I'm talking about. We can go and talk about that. This Saturday, they are at Auburn.
Auburn did lose to Florida, but they whipped up on Alabama and absolutely pummeled South Carolina.
They beat South Carolina by 40 points.
Pummeling.
101 to 61.
That was a disaster.
South Carolina was 21-3, so they were not a pushover.
They got pushed over.
See, Auburn at home is a different animal, and Kentucky is playing Auburn at home this Saturday. It is at Auburn.
That's not a good place to go and try to save yourself.
It's going to be a tough matchup for Kentucky. Now, one thing that it's 85-15 as far as the power index goes. Auburn's way. Kentucky backed up in the corner with the scoring talent they have. I'm not counting them out against Auburn, no. I'm not going to say Auburn's going to beat them by 20, 15. I don't even know if Auburn beats them by 10.
Kentucky can score the ball.
Kentucky can put up 100 points.
Because of the
Auburn,
talent that they possess is very vast.
They've got such good talent.
I mean, they've got Reed Shepherd. They've got Rob Dillingham, a little guy that John still
won't put on the start. I know. In that, I think in that game against Gonzaga, their three most productive players, as far as
were on the bench at different points.
They were only in the game together for 2 minutes.
They were mostly sitting on the bench.
There was one of them was in, or two of them was in, or this one was out, or that one was in. The three that worked best together were never on the court. I don't know. I think he's struggling with some X's and O's, so that's going to be fun. Tennessee plays Vanderbilt Saturday, so that should be
a significant
win. Houston has Texas. That might be a fun game. Texas is not the best team of the year. They're 16-8, but Texas
they're fighting for
they're fighting for a tourney spot, and they're sort of a rival, Texas and Houston.
Yeah, that's I could smell the barbecue cooking on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Man, Texas barbecue.
Duke at Florida State should be a good game, even though Florida State's really not that good this year. One of the best matchups that we have is number 4 Marquette at
trying to knock off UConn off that top perch.
But UConn is so good. I'm not going to go against UConn, even though Marquette has jumped up to number 4 in the country. Still picking some UConn. UConn's just been so good lately. It's going to be hard for them. Again, we got Auburn. Kentucky,
Oklahoma.
Kansas, Oklahoma is going to be super, super good. Yeah, Kansas. It's at Oklahoma, so that's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a tough one for them too. Oklahoma is actually 55-45 as far as the matchup goes, which means that's a toss-up
up and down game.
That's all. Arizona State and Arizona. Arizona's number 5. Arizona State's not that good, but it's a rivalry game.
Yep.
So that's going to be good. But we are down to the home stretch in college basketball.
Yep. Time to get ready for those bracketologies and set up your who's going to be in, who's going to be out, Selection Sunday bubbles.
How long do I last normally on my bracket?
Only like
3 days.
3 hours.
3 hours, yeah. I'm not good at picking them when it comes into the tourney, but it's always fun. Right now, our top 10s: Connecticut, Purdue, Houston, Marquette, Arizona, Kansas, UNC, Tennessee, Duke, Iowa State. Even though we know Kansas and North Carolina are going to drop down, maybe not out of the top 10, but they will drop down to maybe number 9 and number 10 because they've been struggling. Kansas may drop out of the top 10. South Carolina will drop down a little bit, and if Marquette loses to Connecticut, they might drop down a little bit. But it's basketball. I'm into basketball now. I'm 100% basketball mode.
Basketball time.
It is time for some March Madness, maybe.
Well, that's a month away from now, but
I don't care, man. We're 8 games. We're 8 games away from Selection Sunday. I am ready. I am ready for some Selection Sunday. Let's see exactly how many games we do have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're 7 games. We are only 7 games away.
From the SEC tournament.
We're 7 games away from Selection Sunday.
From the SEC tournament.
From the SEC tournament, and then selection. Well, the SEC tournament's that weekend.
Yeah.
So 7 games, and then we have the conference tournaments, and then Selection Sunday.
That comes on after usually the Big Ten title game plays on that day.
Mm-hmm.
And the SEC play on that day, and then they have the selection show.
And then they have the selection show that night. That's going to be so much fun. Anything else pop up?
Bill O'Brien got introduced as Boston College's head coach.
Bill O'Brien is Boston College's head coach. I'm sorry for the demise of the Boston College program. It ain't even happened yet. I am clairvoyant. I'm seeing into the future that's not going to go good. Big baseball news as far as the purists go. Rob Manfred has announced his retirement.
in 2029.
In 2029.
Joyous occasion.
I'm not a Rob Manfred fan. We're not going to get into too much baseball yet. Baseball's not hasn't started yet, even though it's close. Spring trainings around the corner. People have reported already, so we'll see. We won't get into baseball too much yet. NBA's chugging right along.
The EA Sports College football video trailer has been released.
If you haven't seen it yet, jump on YouTube, look up the EA Sports College Football 24. The trailer is out. Not the full trailer, but the teaser trailer is out now. So be sure to check that out. We are going to get a college football game this year. Ooh, yay. I'm so looking forward to that, too. I'm going to throw Joe Milton there and see if he can throw 80 yards on the game like he throws 80 yards on the thing. But I think that's it. That is most of the sports this week's topics. Anything else you can think of popping up?
Nothing much off the top.
All right, cool. That is sports this week. Then we hope you had a little fun with us, talking some football, talking some basketball. Next week we will be knee deep in college basketball. Plus, I'm sure there'll be some other stuff pop up. Tennessee versus NCAA still going on. The judge is in limbo right now, making a decision on that one. So we'll pop that back up too. So be sure and check us out again next week. We'll cover some more hot topics, some more college basketball. Thanks again for SevereTV.com for setting us up here. Thanks again for Autographs Plus for sponsoring us. Be sure and check them out. They got 2 stores, Sevierville, Pigeon Forge. Other than that, we'll see you next week for more sports.
See you next week.